Good morning, everybody. It is the 7th of August 2019. I just wanted to share some of my biggest fitness mistakes that I made during my fitness journey that held me back from getting into the best shape possible. I started off as someone who was at one point quite skinny, wanting to add mass. I also was quite chubby at one point. I was also quite, skinny fat. And so for quite a long time, I was not where I wanted to be with my fitness and my body. But I eventually put my head down, and once I figured out the mistakes I was making and started doing it right with my training and my nutrition, that I managed to get into the best shape of my life. But also I went on to compete in a number of amateur bodybuilding competitions, natural, no steroids, and was super proud of that. So I thought I'd put together these mistakes that will hopefully help one or two people out there watching. So if you're making these mistakes and you're in the early phases of your training, hopefully you can save a bit of time and not waste years of training like I did. One of the first ones I have here is that I neglected compound exercises. So when I used to go to the gym in my early 20s, I focused predominantly on isolation exercises. So I was doing things like, bicep curls and extensions and training my abductors and adduction muscles in my legs. I was not doing any compound movements such as bench press or overhead press or, the squat or the deadlift. I did know of them, but to be honest with you, I was quite scared and intimidated by doing the deadlift and by doing bench press. I wasn't confident in the gym, and so I didn't go near those exercises. But in hindsight, I should have been doing those exercises from the beginning. Instead, I focused on isolation. So when you get a chance, get someone to show you how to do compound exercises. And I'll also link up a really good book that I started reading called Starting Strength by Macronutrient, who also introduces the fundamentals of strength training through those major compound movements. So I highly recommend that book. Definitely was a game changer for me. I'll link it up below. Compound exercises over isolation exercises. Not to say you shouldn't do isolation exercises, but it shouldn't be the focus of your training if you're just starting out. The next one is I neglected progressive overload. So when I used to go into the gym, I wasn't really focused on trying to get stronger on each of the exercises I was doing, even though they weren't the best exercises. I wasn't trying to increase my reps or my weight week after week, partly because I wasn't tracking my progress, which is another problem that I had. I wasn't tracking anything, but we'll get to that in a second. But I wasn't aiming to lift a little bit heavier and add extra reps to my exercises each and every week. So I was plateauing even on the exercises that I shouldn't have been focusing on. So it's important that you emphasize progressive overload, which I do now, but I never did that back then. So I wasn't tracking my macros and my calories. I didn't think it was that important. I was, as I mentioned, quite skinny in the beginning, and I wanted to add mass, and I was only eating until I felt full. And I realized that that was a big mistake because I wasn't eating enough calories for my goal of adding mass as a skinny guy. And so that was what was holding me back. But then when I started to track my calories and my macronutrient intake, you get an idea of how many calories you're eating, and then you can make a determination whether you're eating enough calories to build muscle, or if you're eating enough calories or not eating too many calories to burn fat. I think it's important that for a few weeks, you should have some kind of idea of how many calories and macros you're eating on a day-to-day basis for a few weeks, and then you'll have a much better idea of whether you can meet your target or not of building muscle or losing fat. Once I started tracking my macros and my calories, the whole thing changed for me. I started adding mass, I started building muscle, and then I got into the bulking and cutting of my training. So bulking to build mass, cutting to cut fat. And I was doing it all through monitoring and tracking my calories and my macros, protein, carbohydrate, and fat intake. They're your macros. So I wish I knew about calories and macros and I was more on top of it in my early 20s and not, 4 years ago. So look, check out those apps and have a play around with them. I'll link up some articles below that you can have a look at. I make it really easy to track everything and make sure you're reaching the goals that you want to achieve. That's that one. The next one is I wasn't tracking my progress. So I used to walk into the gym and I used to just do whatever exercise I felt like doing, or whatever machine was free. And I was on the cable machines mostly. I wasn't doing dumbbells and barbells. I was too intimidated by that. But while I was doing the exercises, I wasn't tracking my progress. I wasn't logging how many reps and how many sets I was doing on each of the exercises. So I would just take a mental note. The next time I'd go into the gym, I actually didn't really remember if I did 76 kilos or 74 kilos or 70 kilos. And so, because I wasn't tracking anything, I wasn't making progress because I wasn't tracking, and I didn't know if I was making progress or not because I couldn't remember, what I lifted the week before. So I use an app called FitNotes, and so there are many great workout tracking apps out there that you can use. But I only started using FitNotes like 4-5 years ago, right? Very recently. Prior to that, like maybe for a year or so, I started just keeping notes in my phone. It doesn't matter, as long as you track your progress, whether you write it down in a notebook, use your phone, or use an app. I like to use apps because you have graphs and pie charts and it makes things more interesting. Check out FitNotes. But you need to track your progress. It's really important. You need to know how many reps, how much weight you're lifting, and everything else for each and every exercise. That's going to really help you a lot. So I wish I was doing that in the beginning. The next one is, I thought, this is so stupid, I thought I had to eat clean, cut out all sugar. I thought I had to cut out all the rubbish food, like ice cream and biscuits and chocolate. I thought I had to cut all that out and just eat pure clean food, quinoa and like protein balls. And I thought I just had to really be squeaky clean with my diet to lose weight. And so I used to go to seminars in my early 20s where the speaker would say, you must eat like this oil, you must, eliminate this and cut that out and stop this and cut out dairy and cut out meat and cut out this. And so I went through phases of being a pescatarian, being a vegan, being a veggie. I was a vegan for like 6 months. It was crazy, right? It was just so hard to get your protein intake right. But I did that because I thought that's what I had to do to lose weight. And the truth is I did lose weight, but I lost a bunch of muscle, and that's why I became really skinny, was I went down that path. And I realized after, educating myself that it wasn't essential to cut out all that stuff to lose weight. If I was tracking my calories and my macros, that I could still have, cheat food every now and again. Like I could have gelato still, I could have, sugar in my coffee or milk in my coffee or whatever, and still shed fat. And so if you look up flexible dieting, just read some of the articles I'll link up below. I talk about how you can just track your calories and you can eat pretty much what you want. And as long as you're hitting your macro targets and your calories, then you can still lose weight. But for years and years, I believed that I had to eat clean to lose weight. And that really was frustrating, because when you start cutting out food choices, dieting becomes very miserable, And the last one I have here is that night shift made me fat. So I've been working night shift for a long time now. And so working at night in a corporate job from 8:30 at night to 7 in the morning is quite tough on the body. And so I believed that for many years that the reason why I was out of shape was because I work after hours. I eat all my calories. I have lunch at 2 o'clock in the morning. I have afternoon dinner at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I have dinner at 7 o'clock in the morning. So everything was flipped the other way around. So I was eating most of my calories after 8:30 at night. And I used to believe that, the reason I'm out of shape is because I'm eating all my calories, late at night, early in the morning. And so all those calories are being stored as fat. That was completely wrong. Like, it's not true, obviously. Like, I did my bodybuilding competitions and everything while still doing night shift, and still doing night shift now. I just finished night shift like 3 nights ago as I filmed this. So I'm still pretty tired, but I've managed to maintain my shape and my physique, not to the bodybuilding on stage level, but a great level of fitness I'm happy with, and my strength is really, really still quite high, even though I still work night shift, and it's, quite intense, like 7 nights of night shift in a corporate job, you know, it's really, really hard to try and train outside of night shift. But anyway, carbs don't make you fat after hours. You know, it's as long as you track your calories and your macros, you know, whether you are eating at 2 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, as long as you're just eating the calories you need to meet your goals, again, I'll link the articles, then you'll lose fat, even if you're doing night shift. So that's it. That's all I can think of. They are the 6 biggest mistakes that I did with my training when I first started that really held me back for so many years. But right now I'm super happy that although I'm not perfect and I'm still on a journey with my fitness, I've definitely come a long way. And I hope that this has helped at least one person. And if you can correct any one of these 6, you know, that you might be making, you'll definitely make progress faster. So anyway, if you have any questions, let me know. If you've made some of these mistakes and you're aware of it, let me know. Leave your comments and check out those articles below. I'll link them up. I just make it really simple and really straightforward, and I explain some of these things that I've talked about in those articles. So thanks again for watching, and have an awesome day, and see you soon.